Excuse me, I'm trying to get my two phones together while I'm out here walking. Hopefully, y'all having a good start to y'all morning. I'm out here taking my morning stroll, trying to clear my mind. And so I figured this, I'm gonna take a stroll and clear my mind. I might have shared some of my football thoughts this morning. Um, so the topic right now is definitely Stephon Diggs. Um, let's see if I could drop the screen cap in here. Bam. Okay. So let's talk some Stephon Diggs. Last season, Stephon Diggs came in. He had 85 catches, 1,013 yards, 4 touchdowns, average about 11 yards a catch. So first down plus, almost two. Um, One of the conversations I guess he's brought up recently, amidst all of the things, right? This is not a gossip moment. We're not finna sit up here and talk about, oh, Stephon Diggs and oh, he done did this and oh, he done did that and oh, he done did this. Not it's not a moment about that right now. It's more so just to kind of talk over the player some more. You know, going into this offseason around the time of the draft. Good morning. Uh, some of the conversations with me and one of our favorites on the stream and one of the consistent people on the pod going forward and being on the show within the content is World by Trey, our resident Raider fan. And one of those conversations very consistently. Good morning. Uh, had been about the concept of the conversation around Stephon Diggs going to play for the Raiders. And I think it's been a consistent conversation about whether or not that's a good idea or not. And I think, honestly, the biggest thing or the biggest clash that came with that idea, for example, at the time and probably going forward is just going to be fit within what the goal is and what they're trying to accomplish over there in Vegas, right? And I think that's interesting because I think for somebody like Stephon Diggs, right, he's a culture building receiver. Overall, let's get into it. Okay. He's a culture building receiver, the kind of guy that you bring in your team. And if you're looking to accomplish a goal and get to a certain type of place, you bring him in your team, onto your team, and he can kind of be an accelerant to that success, right? You know, some may say he's the fuel, some could say he's the fuel, some could say he's the fuse, excuse me. Within one of those two, he operates as the thing that kind of gets you the big boom when you need it. I mean, you look at Minnesota, him leaving Minnesota and then going to Buffalo and the success that the Bills had for all those years. And then you turn around and you look outside of that success he had with the Bills. You look at the Texans. C.J. Stroud's most successful season so far was playing with Stephon Diggs, especially because he's a quarterback-friendly receiver, right? He's a guy that plays well off the release. He's a guy that plays well inside the hashes. He's a guy that plays well in the slot. He's a guy that can also play outside and be a consistently dominant outside wide receiver that can kind of shift coverage a little bit as well. And again, still at this age, can get open one-on-one. I think the biggest thing in the Super Bowl is that with the lack of other supporting cast wide receiver talent around him, it made it a little harder for him to really show out. Still made a few receptions in the Super Bowl. I don't know his line specifically. Probably, I think he had like, 4 or 5 catches, probably for around like 42 yards, 32 yards, maybe somewhere around there. The Super Bowl is really, really hard receivers. I have a great day as a receiver. It's just really, really tough because possessions are so few and far between. But again, you know, looking at where he's at now, being that he's a free agent, you kind of look at teams outside of the conversation about somebody like the Raiders into figuring out, okay, well, where is a place we could see Stephon Diggs playing? Good morning. We could see Stephon Diggs playing potentially. And what are some rosters that he fit on? And so as I was sitting, strolling, and I was listening to Nightcap, they were talking about a few different receiver rooms and receiver groups. And I figured within that, we could also look at a few of these ones and kind of chat about how he fit in here. So again, we initially started with the Raiders and my dad. I was talking to my dad about this yesterday. He was talking about the Raiders and wondering what their plan is to really work with Fernando Mendoza. I'm a Mendoza fan. I'm somebody who believes Fernando Mendoza is going to have an opportunity to be successful and succeed in the NFL. And I think a lot of that's about the kind of player that he is. I've grown to learn that I'm somebody who believes in Cal quarterbacks. So my belief in him being a Cal quarterback, Jared Goff having been a successful Cal quarterback, Aaron Rodgers having been a successful Cal quarterback, I think that there's really a blueprint and a recipe there for Fernando Mendoza to be successful because at the top of that, those are really, really intelligent guys, and that gives them an ability to be really detail oriented and really knowledgeable when it comes to things like acknowledging and recognizing covers and how those things in the getting the ball out fast can impact and really positively affect the offensive scheme. And I think that's something that you see oftentimes with Jared Goff. You see it with Aaron Rodgers very, very often when he's playing within the offense. And I think Jared Goff at his best when he was a Ram, at his best in Detroit when the offense is flowing, being able to really read the defense pre-snap very, very quickly based on anticipating and knowing what's there, and then being able to make those reads and those um, quick passes to kind of undercut the defensive pressure and the coverage. I think is something that Fernando Mendoza did really, really well on the way to the national championship. He threw it anticipation the whole season really, really well, and I think in his playoff run, whether it was the game against the 2 games against Ohio State, good morning, um, or it was his game against the University of Miami, for example. He just played the University of Oregon. I mean, they destroyed them in the run game, but also with the way in which he got the ball out with anticipation and how that turned around and positively impacted the receivers after the catch. So back to the most important thing is you got Trey Tucker, Deontay Thornton, Jalen Naylor, Malik Benson, Jack Bech, Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty be the running back. Starting quarterback would be Kirk Cousins, possibly to start, and then again working Fernando Mendoza, I would believe, unless he just out and out, just purely just outshines um, Kirk Cousins. And I think again, I think that makes it interesting because the Raiders aren't in a win right now mode. This wasn't a draft pick addition that came with a roster that kind of had they had a down season that's ready to rebound and go back, on a run. So I don't think Stephon Diggs will actually fit there realistically, even though it would be a good fit just because it gives good morning. It just gives a number one receiver. I think you really create an opportunity to build around an offense with an identity on a run game for the Raiders that builds into how they develop their passing game around that. I like more so. So then the next team, and courtesy of the show. Good morning. Courtesy of the show Nightcap. Some of these rosters were suggested as well. I was listening to what they were talking about as I was thinking over this Stephon Diggs topic. And you heard them, or I heard them mentioned in Baltimore, the Ravens. He is from the Maryland area, from the DMV, Washington, Maryland, Virginia area. What is it? The District of Columbia, the DC area, all of that over there. So you got the Ravens, which would be close to home. He went to the University of Maryland. So you got Lamar, you got Derrick Henry, you got Zay Flowers, who would then become the number 2 receiver potentially. You would get Stephon Diggs, who was a consistent ball control receiver now, like I said, who can play inside the numbers, inside the hash, in at the slot, inside the numbers, excuse me. He can also play outside the numbers as a primary receiver and draw that kind of coverage. But then you have a guy like Zay Flowers now who is a pseudo number one, and the number one based on responsibility but hasn't developed like a full number one wide receiver game. It's now you got a guy who you can turn around and you can put in that position and you can actually activate him even more, which will make Zay Flowers much more dangerous. Again, I think the biggest thing with Zay Flowers right now is there's no offensive identity around him. What he did at Boston College in order to become the first round receiver that he is, I think is stamped. So again, you just have to begin to be able to really actually build a focus around him, whether it's support, how you kind of did it with Devontae Smith for Philadelphia, where you brought in a guy that could kind of help support him be freer to be able to develop into the guy that you want to see him be and kind of develop an offense to where you can understand how you want to use him. I think that's really one of the things that could really benefit Zay Flowers this year because they kept trying to bring in number 1A top type wide receivers, but not really guys that are healthy. I think not Stephon Diggs, but DeAndre Hopkins was a big example of that. But again, you turn around and you add Stephon Diggs into this lineup now where you have, it's tough because I don't think that they would based on kind of looking at things like Jacoby Lane's name there. Honestly, that's crazy. Tyler Huntley stay with a job, don't he? It's actually crazy. Good morning. Um, Realistically, though, I look at it and it's like, good morning. you could bring in Stephon Diggs for the Baltimore Ravens, and now you kind of get an addition of a wide receiver that kind of takes and alleviates some of that pressure, some of that focus, some of that attention off of Zay Flowers, off of Rashad Bateman, and really opens the offense up to be able to play off of the play action a lot better, because I think that's one of the things that they still do struggle with. Because I think that they can be man coverage, but being able to be some of those zone coverages that come on blitzes and things like that. Like I really go watch some more Ravens tape. Usually it's man coverage with the blitz the teams through it, but it's a chance that the Ravens may be struggling being able to beat those zone coverages and find those windows. And getting a receiver like Stephon Diggs can really help that offense off play action, because again, he's always been a receiver consistently who's been really dangerous with finding those windows. With a team like the Ravens, that play action where you get that Lamar Jackson coming in, he get that read off Derrick Henry and he pull that ball out and be able to throw that pass right there in that zone. Now the Ravens become much more dangerous in a manner that, again, like I talked about Fernando Mendoza, being able to anticipate and read the defense and the coverages pre-snap and anticipate within the run game now and be able to pull that three-way option, that NFL triple option that Lamar would have, of being able to hand it to Derrick Henry, one option, pull it out and take the ball and run, pull the ball on the option, take off and run, pause, and then third option, be able to read the defense while he's play actioning, and then throw that ball to those receivers and have guys being able to catch the ball underneath and be able to catch and run. That makes the Ravens really dangerous if they were to acquire a guy like that. I got a bird. Hold on. Good morning. Bitch ass nigga. If I say good morning to you, you better say good morning back. Don't you nod your head at me. I don't know you like that, nigga. Now we got to see where we're going to go. We're going to go right. We're going to go left. Oh, I almost fell again. I'm trying to die out here. Y'all see this? For y'all entertainment. Oh, my Lord. Don't die, son. But yeah, that would make the Ravens really, really dangerous. Whether they have the money to do that as well, and Stephon Diggs going to take that kind of pay cut to do that, whereas a team with the Raiders, like the Raiders definitely have that kind of money automatically, you would think in your head. Raiders already got that money sitting there, waiting there. But then on the other end, Baltimore, better culture, possibly less money. But again, do you want to win the Super Bowl? This is an authentic chance where I think the Ravens could really not sneak into, but again, look up in the Ravens, be who they need to be. This could be an addition that really help them get to that point. Honestly and authentically, I really think that. Folks like, boy, you tripping. Okay. So now, you take a walk, you do something in the morning, you wake up, you're hungry, you drink some water, and the water do good. Then you have to take a walk. That water is flowing through. So it's all in my bloodstream in my body. It ain't in my stomach no more. Um, courtesy of Uncle Ocho and ISO Joe on the Nightcap Show. Ladies and gentlemen, the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels on quarterback this past season. Really, really rough year. I liked seeing his relationship with Warren and Deebo Samuel. I was hoping that Deebo Samuel will return, but again, now another veteran wide receiver added just to the conversation briefly. Oh, somebody's chasing me with their dog. Whether or not they would actually bring back Deebo Samuel factors into a lot of these other conversations. But with the Commanders, that relationship, that rapport that he built with Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin makes it interesting, because again, Jaden just wasn't healthy this year. So maybe you could bring him back on the lower deal, which maybe X's out Stephon Diggs. But again, all in the opposite in the contrast, like I said, they're one of those kind of guys I think definitely kind of fits in a car flips kind of way. I think Stephon Diggs is much more explosive as a wide receiver, even though Deebo Samuel after the catch is much more explosive in some ways. But I think that makes it very, very interesting, because again, still from home, still some of the problems Stephon Diggs been having in the media. You don't know if this accelerates him, throws the gas on the fire, calms him down. But again, I think it's interesting just because whether it calms him down or accelerates the problems he's been dealing with, puts him in a position with another young quarterback. And again, if they're in a position, which I don't really think the Commanders are though, if they're in any kind of position to kind of succeed, good morning. Um, I think it makes it interesting because at the end of the day, it's like, are the Commanders really in a position to bring in Stephon Diggs because he'll make them that much better? Good morning. So the biggest thing is, I mean, this is the offensive core. It's kind of in between. They got Chigo Quanco from Tennessee, which is an interesting pickup. Also got Terry McLaurin, Antonio Williams. Good morning. Rashad White, Traylon Burks, Korski Merritt, Rashad White. Very, very incomplete offense. This offense kind of don't really got nothing going on. I definitely 10 out of 10 would not recommend Stephon Diggs go to Washington Commanders unless he looks just literally just ain't got nowhere to go and he don't understand why I ain't trying to make it seem like I fell out the league shit. I don't see it really turning into nothing substantial. No disrespect. This last one was an interesting one. I don't know how I see this one going again, but if we looking at it and again we saying, well, just on some being in the league, being in the game, shit. I mean, all right, I can respect it. I can go with it. I can get with it, respectively. But I don't know necessarily how much it's really gonna work out or what it'll turn into, honestly. Because again, I think when you look at it, you got to ask yourself how we also look at the Cleveland Browns right now. I think they got a lot of things going on. They got a lot of things going on. They got a lot of things they're trying to figure out. And then again, they got a very, 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 very crowded wide receiver room with a variety of receivers. I mean, you got Jerry Judy still. You got Casey Concepcion. You got Isaiah Bond. You got Denzel Boston, who they just drafted, who they said Denzel Boston has had a really, really good, he had a really, really good spring camp. Getting ready to start training camp here soon. So again, he may get getting out there and balling like crazy again. Um, I thought it was crazy seeing all these questionables already. Like, damn, Cleveland. I know people was banged up last season. I know, like for example, Quinshawn Judkins coming back off an injury, but dang, like it's kind of crazy. So I don't know how Stephon Diggs fits into this room. I think you bring him in. You say, all right, well, he could be a veteran culture building receiver, but at the same time, I mean, call Robert Woods, have him come over there and help y'all coach. Even though I think he's with the Rams now. You can go call a veteran receiver like that who's done it all, seen it all, not still holding on to the idea of I'm still a number one. Because again, remember that's part of the conversation with this is Stephon Diggs just recently saying like he's still a number one wide receiver. And so again, I think within that too, I think it makes it interesting because you also got that chase. That'll necessarily die down because teams don't know what market they want to put on a wide receiver like Stephon Diggs. That'll kind of go away because of those conversations and stuff like that. So again, we back to the real world. I think it also makes it interesting just because you can sit there to yourself and you kind of wonder, like, okay, well, 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 you sit there and you wonder, like, you sit there and you wonder kind of to yourself, okay, well, in the grand scheme of how Stephon Diggs may want it to work out for him as well, what would the game plan as well, not just focusing in on and focusing the conversation on what team he's going to play on or if he's still a number one, is the conversation also about, okay, what does him still being a number one prospectively look like? What team is he on prospectively as number one wide receiver? What region of the country is he in prospectively as a number one receiver? Who's the quarterback, for example? Good morning. Good morning. And I think all of those things actually make it a very, very interesting conversation because, again, is he still talented? He came off an ACL tear this past offseason and was the reason that the Patriots offense at least could function well enough to get to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying he's the reason that the Patriots offense got to the Super Bowl, but again, he was the reason that the offense was able to function well enough to get to the Super Bowl. And again, then when you look at Cleveland, more so than you look at the Raiders. I think there's the value that you see, and there's the impact that you also can see on Stephon Diggs. So Pop Douglas and all them dudes aren't anything really crazy, anything major. But again, the impact that he was able to have on them. Good morning. The impact that he was able to have on them really was able to propel them. That shouldn't be underestimated. That's an understated thing, but it shouldn't be underestimated. Understated, never underestimated. Is the impact that Stephon Diggs definitely does have on young receiver corps. So I mean, it's very, very interesting. Even right here to myself, and I think me and my boy Cooper talked about this. Shout out to Chris. It's Stephon Diggs to the Texans. Going back to Houston, and I've seen it on the social media at least. I think I've seen him allude to it possibly. But again, him to the Atlanta Falcons, I mean, not the Atlanta Falcons, excuse me, the Houston Texans would be a great addition because they need a number one-ish, two-ish, number one receiver. So you turn around and you go get Stephon Diggs, you bring Stephon Diggs back there with CJ Stroud and give Tank Dell a little bit more time to kind of get healthy and stuff like that. They got David Montgomery. Like, I think that's a great addition, honestly. But right now, Stephon Diggs, again, on the other end, does have the biggest thing that becomes the biggest thing a lot of times with his conversation, which is what is going on in his personal life. And if you want to bring that attention onto your team as well as the talent. But again, to get 1,013 yards, 4 touchdowns, a little bit light because that's partially Drake May also struggling within his ability to run the offense as a young quarterback. It's not struggling in a negative way, but struggling, to get it to his highest level. He ain't there yet, which is pretty interesting. But I mean, who knows? So we're going to have a few of the topical topics. Speaking of wide receivers, ESPN's top wide receivers of 2026-27 season. I'm gonna just read the list from the bottom to the top. We got Terry McLaurin. DK Metcalf, T. Higgins, Alec Pierce, which surprised me. I'm not gonna lie. Alec Pierce of the Indianapolis Colts, Cincinnati University. Very, very interesting. And he made it on here, and Michael Pittman didn't. And Michael Pittman got traded to the Steelers, which is crazy. I mean, I guess that says a lot, right? If they trade a first round pick receiver, I believe, top 45 pick receiver, to another team with an older quarterback and keep a dude who they drafted post the first round, it says probably a lot about that guy. But that surprised me. Alec Pierce right there at number 16, or what is that, 17? J-Mo Williams from Detroit, Motor City J-Mo, Drake London from the Atlanta Falcons, Tyreek Hill, who I personally am not sure if he's going to play wide receiver at a high level ever again. Even if he does play, I don't see why he would play. I think he should then now turn to social media. But interesting that he was in here at number 14. Number 13, Zay Flowers. We got Mike Evans at 12, Malik Neighbors at number 11, which was interesting. Like Shannon Sharp kind of pointed that out also. He was just saying he didn't really understand how Malik Neighbors got on this list. Was surprised with Tyreek Hill. You also got Devontae Adams, which is interesting. AJ Brown, Nico Collins, George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka Nacua, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. So that's that's top 20. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know if I agree with that as a top 20 list. Maybe not that I don't agree with it, but good morning. I don't really know if I agree with it, but I think it's just interesting and kind of odd, at least, the way that they done put it together. Just because, I mean, like I said, interchangeable, changing it out. That's the first question you got to ask yourself, right? Okay, well, if you don't or do agree, who would you change out? I mean, the core of the players on this list, I definitely agree with the variety of the guys that are on this list. I think I just probably would line them up a little differently here and there. Some guys, right? I think the biggest one, I think Alec Pierce would be all the way at number 20. I think body of work as well as recency definitely do fit and they definitely do count. So I think Terry McLaurin's body of work is not Stephon Diggs, it's DeAndre Hopkins without the suspension. And all he did was unfortunately get injured this past season. So again, it kind of affected the Commanders. Him and Jaden was both hurt. But nah, I can't see a world right now where Alec Pierce even if he is getting better, and the coach don't have a quarterback, which again he's succeeded and managed to do things to sustain without a serious quarterback, but they don't got no quarterback right now. So I think you definitely got to again pay some respect to Terry McLaurin. I'll move Alec Pierce down there to number 20. Uh, T Higgins, I would put T Higgins at number 17. I probably put T Higgins over Jamison Williams. I'm not gonna lie, and Drake London. I know he's number 2, but I think he could go somewhere else and probably be a number 1 receiver. Um, Malik Neighbors could be a little lower. Mike Evans, career legendary receiver. I think Mike Evans is better than Devontae and AJ Brown. I think obviously the recency bias, you definitely will take some away from Mike Evans if you choose to, but I think still I value receivers that block. Not to say AJ don't block, but I value receivers. I value receivers that block. I value longevity. I value consistency, and I think uh, Mike Evans has been arguably the most consistent with it, even within some of the inconsistencies of guys like Aaron Rodgers, or excuse me, not Aaron Rodgers. Not God damn it. What's his name? Baker Mayfield, Tom Brady, Jameis, back in the day, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Again, like it's a few receivers in this era who definitely have some old school paths where they just really just kept stacking yards and stacking numbers regardless of the quarterback. Which is why I think when you look at the top of this list, um, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb being right on top, right stair step on the with each other. I feel that. I think that's actually completely and entirely right. That's messy by ESPN, but I feel it. I'm on Ron St. Brown. He's had like multiple like 1,200 yard plus seasons, which those are actually really productive, good numbers. So you can't even take away from that. So I can respect it. Um, Jackson Smith and J-Bill Puka Nacua. I know that's a big conversation on the West. It's gonna be a big conversation again this season too. So you kind of gotta respect that most definitely. Good morning. Um, how it actually breaks down as far as how it's going to play out, I don't know. I think if you ask me, I mentioned blocking earlier when I mentioned Mike Evans. So obviously, I have a respect and an affinity towards that. No, I'm not gonna go that way because Chris King is loud. I got an affinity towards receivers that block, so I have a high level of appreciation for it. I see how it affects the run game. I see how it affects the offense off play action, even as far as how you can get receivers open with the illusion that they are blocking because they block so consistently. But JSN is learning from Cooper Cup just like Puka Nacua is, so I already know like all of those things are in that bag and in that package. Um, what I would say is that I don't think 1 year should push you up that high. I know that he had a really productive rookie season. Whether it's right now or at another time, maybe I'll pull up those numbers. But I know he had a good rookie season. But I do think that even within that, pushing him all the way up there off of a good rookie season and a second season to where he's over uh, a guy like Puka Nacua and Amon Ra, I don't know. I will say that. But good morning. These people don't get enough of not saying good morning back. Let's see what JSN had his rookie year. Yeah, no, I don't think that after 1,100 yard season, his rookie year and 6 touchdowns, 100 catches, which is a good season. The 1,710 pushes you to number 3 though, because if I'm not mistaken, Justin Jefferson and Puka Nacua at the time they both broke records for the most yards as rookies. I know Puka Nacua for sure did. So I think with a single season, even though he's kind of been through a little bit of quarterback roulette, I think that's a little more Ohio State hype than anything. But it's acceptable because again, just went to the Super Bowl, just won the Super Bowl, so it makes sense. But the one I wanted to talk about was Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson has 8,000 yards receiving, which is crazy because he's only in his 5th year, I think, in the NFL, or maybe 6th year. 8,000 yards is crazy. But notice that I talked about Terry McLaurin and I talked about Mike Evans and how they perform over the course of their quarterbacks. Like sometimes when you say it out loud, then it makes like certain people ain't got no excuse. I feel like Justin Jefferson's getting a little bit of a pass lately because of the quarterback carousel in Minnesota, but it's not going to stop. Right now, you still got J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray is now your other quarterback. So that's not going to necessarily change. He's going to have to do something through that. But again, still put in 1,000 yards. So I definitely understand it and respect it. Um, And then Jamar Chase. I mean, Jamar Chase, I definitely agree and give it up to him as the number one receiver in the league because, again, to look at the season that he had this past season and the fact that Joe Burrow was not there, Joe Flacco comes in mid-season, and I mean, I think he still put up 1,000. I think he's at least 5 touchdowns, possibly. I think he still went over like 80 catches, 90 catches. Uh, that's a crazy stat line to put up, and your number one quarterback out, and then the second number one quarterback they bring in is 40 years old. Like I ain't gonna lie, that's definitely balling out of control. Wow, shout out to me. We done did 31 minutes. It's a 31-minute walk. Look at me, Mr. Mobility. This was interesting. Um, this was Heisman odds. Um, ew. Honestly, if I could say anything, most importantly, it's like those some nasty Heisman odds. Back up. What's up? We're entering Jurassic Park. Hello, honey. I'm right here at Jurassic Park. Lily's dog is attacking me. What's up with y'all? It's actually kind of disrespectful. But yeah, the Heisman race really, without having to get into and talk about that specific list of guys more than anything. Heisman race really, without having to get into and talk about that specific list of guys more than anything. I think we definitely know that the list does kind of shape itself as the season goes on. I mean, yeah, like I definitely don't think that if we were to go back and look at the Heisman odds from that season, that Ashton Jenkins, Travis Hunter is on there. I think the year like Caleb Williams won, he probably was on there. Johnny Manziel, I don't think Johnny Manziel was on the Heisman odds the year he won. So again, we already know like the guys that's on the actual Heisman list right now. This list that they showing us, that's not really accurate all the way. Even though it got some accuracies, we just got to figure out who the guys are. So when I come back, as I get the food ready for my little rap this year in Jurassic Park, we gonna talk about who realistically got the best chance to make it all the way through to the Heisman Trophy ceremony in New York on New Year's Eve or the New Year's Day. One moment. Hey, nothing you can say, nothing you can change what you've done to me. Hey, nothing you can say, nothing you can change what you've done to me. Y'all know nothing about that. Y'all know nothing about that OG Randy Orton song. Y'all know nothing about that. All right, come on, cool. I know you got some good stuff that gets us gold, and it's more important now than ever because they're putting it into the So the Heisman odds. I should have stayed. Uh, Actually, no. I'm gonna jump to that last. Yeah. No. Right here. Let's talk about this. So Lamar Jackson ended up being the number 69 player on the NFL Top 100. I'm warming up y'all food right now. Lamar Jackson ended up being the number 69 player in the NFL's top 100. That sounds like racism to me. Sounds like racism to me. Lamar Jackson ain't never the 69th best player in the NFL. Hell no. What's wrong with y'all? And somebody need to talk to y'all mamas and daddies, whoever made this list. That's what I'm saying. Ain't no way the players in the NFL was actually voting and they voted Lamar Jackson 69th. Come on, man. Even if they not, they like, nah. Like, even if they like, nah, man, I mean, he heard this season. 69th? Crazy. And it's disrespectful and they nasty for that. I'm calling the police. The reason why that's so egregious, ladies and gentlemen, is because I think no, it's not about a popularity contest. Obviously, if you think of the top 69 players in the NFL right now, Lamar Jackson is going to come to your mind, probably in the top 5, top 10. Definitely, depending on how much your knowledge of ball is, it definitely can fluctuate. But as I close the dog food back, I genuinely and authentically got to say, I this past season did take some issue with Lamar Jackson's like not necessarily running the ball with as much aggression. You know, very very clearly seeming to very conscientiously seeming to make like different kinds of decisions as far as the run game and how he participated for the offense, just trying to protect himself and save himself to be able to help the offense and things like that over the course of the season. And I did feel like that took away from him as a threat in some ways, but I don't think that changes the threat that he is on the football field. I don't think that he's the 69th most dangerous. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he's the 69th most impactful player in the NFL, even if he's not running. I think that's crazy. So, I think that was very, very interesting. But again, like I've been talking about, I think one of the big things that's up next with Lamar Jackson is kind of the devaluation of Lamar. Um, the era where we begin to start talking about how Lamar Jackson doesn't run as fast anymore. He's not that much of a running threat anymore, and all of these things around uh, just trying to really devalue his game. That is nothing really falling off in his game. He's just being selective, which he's been encouraged and he's been uh, consistently mentored up and gamed up on from some of the other people that are in the NFL, some of the other former legends and people that exist in the game and in the league. And I think that that's a very, very important and very, very impactful uh, thing to is because it doesn't benefit them to acknowledge that level of talent and that ability to succeed from a guy like Lamar. Hold on, I gotta put some old cool water in here for the doggies. The doggies. All right. So yeah, I think sorry, I'm in here being Mr. Doggy Dad, y'all. Um, yeah, I think that realistically Lamar's not nothing's changing about Lamar. He's just probably maturing in his game and getting more understood and more knowledgeable in how he can impact the game as he does. Dang, honey, you good? Nose down, all the way down. All the way, lay down. Lay down, honey. Lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down, lay down. Lay down, please. Damn, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. Honey, all the way down. Eat. Jesus Christ. Now I gotta convince my phone stop being ghetto, stop connecting to my AirPods. Yeah, I don't think Lamar Jackson is like regressing. I don't think his game is really losing anything. I just think it's a situation in territory where it's like you don't really want to encourage. The NFL don't want to encourage this style of play of player because it kind of really only leans to one culture, maybe. Also within that, and on top of that, I think realistically, like he just can demand and command so much money being a dual threat player at that highest level. Um, Granted, they would do reward it. They only kind of wanting to reward one at a time or a few styles of player from a style of player, if that makes sense. So I think that makes it difficult at times for like a guy Lamar to get his just due. But Lamar is a 69th player in the NFL. It's a travesty. It's egregious. It's disrespectful. It's not true. It's fake. Anybody that said they his homie in the league and voted him the 69th player, y'all fake. Like what a mess president. Um, we were just like a little sports walk around. So CJ Stroud, the infamous CJ Stroud, he look like John Legend now. He don't even look like this no more. That's the crazy part. He cut his hair. I don't know why black quarterbacks feel like when they have a rough season they got to cut their hair. I don't know who told y'all had to do that, but all right, man. So CJ Stroud done cut his hair and now he look like John Legend. So um, the funniest part with this next part of this little topic is really the question is CJ Stroud starting quarterback or is he just an ordinary person for real? That's the kind of thing that you really got to ask yourself right now, which I think is kind of like, I guess what the topic was with this when they asked this as far as the Texans. I guess when this came up, it was the conversation was basically is CJ Stroud a supermax quarterback? But then also on the other end, within asking if CJ Stroud was a supermax quarterback, you got to ask yourself, one, why wouldn't he be with the success that he's had in Houston? Then you look and you kind of ask, okay, I didn't even think this initially when I looked at this when I pulled this up because I felt like it was like, dang, okay, well we just trying to like go at CJ Stroud, but I was like, dang, okay, so who are his predecessors? The most successful predecessors that he's had over in Houston are going to be Matt Schaub and Deshaun Watson, straight up and down. Then when you look at that, I guess you'll say CJ Stroud number 3 right now, but you also got to take a opportunity and look at it and really see how CJ Stroud numbers and his successes bear out in that. So then you ask, okay, well, is he playing at a Deshaun Watson level? I just heard somewhere Deshaun Watson had like 4,800 and like 40 touchdowns and like 7 interceptions or something like that. So no, and he probably had like dang near a rack running, possibly. So that's a pretty crazy stat line. But I also think the precedent is based on leading the program with what's there. It's a defensive centric team. So do you give CJ Stroud a freaking supermax? Nah, you probably don't give him no supermax contract. I ain't gonna cap. Hold on one second. Let me get these girls some water. Good morning, Raptor Feedings. Yeah, I feel like you give CJ Stroud like a semi max. You give him like half of the whole shebang bang. Cause he ain't really did all that. He ain't really did all that yet. You give him all that, they gonna be weak. whatever is the partial, whatever is the partial, I think you give him the partial. I don't think you can give him that whole thing because I think last year he just showed some youngness. And again, I think he's still one of those quarterbacks that's not got a lot of starts. Started more in high school than he did even in college, for example. So I think that's one of the things you really got to be conscientious about when you paying these guys is how many players are you paying max more than Dan Marino got prospectively. Like if you paying somebody more than I believe in this. Excuse me. Restart. All right, now we restarted. We done took at the 48-minute mark. We are getting ready to hit 50 minutes. I almost want to stop this and just start from in the house all over again. But we're not gonna do that. We're gonna just do and keep going. That's what we're gonna do. But again, moral of the story is Lamar Jackson is not the 69th best player in the NFL. Stephon Diggs has a variety of options of teams that he could play on and he could succeed with. Um, what else? What the fuck else I had in there? Thank you. Oh, the top 20 NFL wide receivers produced by ESPN was a raised bait list, but had some good facts, some good points in it, on it, within it. And CJ Stroud, Supermax quarterback, no. Partial max quarterback, yes. Why? Because the Texans definitely have a lot of worthwhile pieces. I mean, you got Derek Stingley, you got Will Anderson still there on the defense, Aziz Alshire. I mean, they've got like a few guys actually that are worth keeping and hold down the pen. It's a defensive team. But again, that's partially why you do definitely pay your quarterback in some ways. I mean, if he shows out to be like highly elite, I think CJ Stroud has shown himself to be really, really good. But again, he's got limited starts and he's not fully kind of crossed that threshold as far as what it is you are waiting to see that defines him as a quarterback that you would pay that amount of money to. Same thing with a guy like Jaden Daniels. I think there's a variety of quarterbacks in that kind of middle, didn't play that much in college, but are talented quarterback range that are going to be looking to get paid. And it's kind of a question on whether or not you pay all those guys. Because again, you also cap strap when you pay a guy like that. It ain't just that you pay to do and um, it's not just that you pay him and he's your quarterback, but it's also that you cap strap when you pay him. So it's not like you got a lot of flexibility as the quarterback when you in that situation or as a program. Um, Last two seasons, his completion percentage has been on par with, or excuse me, worse than Kirk Cousins. His yards per attempt worse than Geno Smith, and his passer rating has been worse than Kyler Murray. Two of which are on their second or third team in the last 2 years, I believe. I know Geno on his like third team in the last 3 years. Um, oh, that's crazy. The orientation be like, all right. Um, so this screenshot has C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love, and Bryce Young on it, but unfortunately, it's not showing the Bryce Young side. So I think this is comparable. Whatever Jordan Love got paid, I think that they should pay C.J. Stroud. I think the everything is on par, right? I think let's see, let's look at that. We've got 28 and 18 records, so CJ Stroud has a better record. 63.8 completion percentage, 64.3, 10,876 yards to one. To, what is that? 11,535. 7.5 completion percentage, 7.6, 236 per game to 202 per game, 62 passing touchdowns, I believe, to 83, 25 passing interceptions to 31, 93 quarterback rating, 96 quarterback rating. So again, like, what is Jordan Love getting paid? Because I think he got an extension, correct? Let's see. What y'all think Jordan Love getting paid? Yeah, so in 2020, No, did he? Oh yeah, his rookie deal was from 2020 to 2024. 4 years, 12 million. That was his rookie contract, unrestricted free agent. This past season, the 2025 season, he signed a 1 year rookie extension, 2023, 2024. He signed $100 million guaranteed contract uh, with a signing bonus plus the 2024 salary plus 2025 salary plus 10 million of 2026 salary, and he signed that. So excuse me, he signed a 4 year, 220 million contract, $75 million signing bonus, 163 million. Excuse me, 160 million guaranteed. Average salary of 55 million a season. Base salary of 10 million a year. In July of 2024. So yeah, that's CJ Stroud and him needed to be getting the same thing. Let's see. What was Bryce Young numbers? Like, why is Can I Get to the Yams a song that's playing on my chill channel? I don't even listen to Masego. What the fuck? Okay, so CJ Stroud is 14 and 13. I mean, not CJ Stroud. Bryce Young is 14 and 13. CJ Stroud is 28 and 18. Jordan Love is 27 and 20 and 1, which is crazy. Bryce Young is 14 and 30. Jesus Christ. Obviously the Panthers in a different situation. He's got 8,291 yards, 49 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. Yeah, pay CJ Stroud. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. Pay CJ Stroud. Don't play. Don't lollygag. Don't trip out. Don't act like y'all high. Pay that man. Cause it's like if you don't, it's kind of crazy. Do you pay? What do you pay Puka? 4 years, 140 is what Justin Jefferson's rookie extension was. God damn. Jamar Chase got 4 years for 161. Fuck it, just give Puka 4 years, 150. I don't know if that's happening. All right, let's see. Okay, yeah. Now let's get back to this. Let's get back to this right here. Boom. So, there we go. CJ Carr, Arch Manning, Julian Sand, Dante Moore, Trinidad Chambliss, and hell no. I just don't even see this being realistic. I know this is like some ESPN Heisman favorite shit. They love pushing quarterbacks, but I just can't see that. I mean, I get the idea that like 3 out of these 5 teams on here's quarterbacks would be pushing a team in the monumental way. Like Trinidad Chambliss definitely could be on this list and definitely is authentically to be looked at as like a, you know, Heisman favorite, possibly because he had a Heisman worthy season last year. I think if they factored in the idea that Lane Kiffin was going to leave into their season last year, if they factored it into the season, actually, I think it probably would have actually been more reason for him to have got talked a little bit more about. winning the Heisman as far as being in the Heisman conversation a little bit more. Excuse me, but I think a better season from Arch Manning gets him a Heisman. I think he's got a harder schedule. CJ Carr is just a Cinderella story. I don't know how good he is in relation to the Heisman Trophy conversation, though. I will say that. I'm not gonna lie. What I did think that was interesting though is last season I feel like Arch Manning, like I said, I'm still high on Arch Manning. I think it's interesting because he seemed to get a lot of hate last year in his only two losses. One of them was to Ohio State, who was the reigning national champion, as well as brought in Matt Patricia to come in and coach their defense. It was like an NFL defensive coordinator, and that was like his first start in college. Everybody, and then everybody was comparing him to Shador and shit too, which I thought was fucking crazy. But these were his stats last season. I mean, he had 31, 63, 26 touchdowns, 7 INTs. I think he also went for an additional like 200 to 300 rushing. Uh, Trinidad Chambliss, 3,900, 22 touchdowns, 3 INTs. He's older as well. And then you had Dante Moore, who has been talked about in the conversation of a quarterback getting possibly drafted in the top 20 picks, which I don't understand, and I don't see where they seeing that at. But again, 35, 65, 30 touchdowns, INTs. I don't really see that. I don't understand how he can push up more than Arch. They got basically the same passer rating. 78.5, that looks like. 78. Trinidad Chambliss is by far the quarterback I think who's got a little more to be talked about, but so it made me kind of wonder, like, so what would be the top 7, maybe top 8, top 5 quarterbacks for the draft going into this next season? So Dante Moore is number 1 on that list. Julian Sand is number 2. Arch Manning is number 3. Drew Mestermaker, who is now transferred, I believe, yeah, he's at Oklahoma State from North Texas. He's number 4. CJ Carr from Notre Dame, who we just spoke about, was number 5. This would be some controversy to me because I don't understand how that is even still a conversation. Brendan Sorsby at number 6. Darian Mensah from the U by way of Duke is number 7. And then we've got the current starting quarterback for University of Indiana. I can't really see who that name is. So I think when I look at this list, I think by far Arch Manning is still the best quarterback on this list. And also, I see Trinidad Chambliss, though, is interesting, too. I think Trinidad Chambliss should be on this list, too. Whether Arch Manning is going to come out or not, I think Trinidad Chambliss is number 1 quarterback, which is part of the reason probably why you stay back. That NIL money and the ability to be the number 1 out-and-out quarterback in relation to a few other guys, I think definitely makes complete sense. So, I mean, I could see it. I can get why, but I don't know. So, within that, let me get my right list up. Excuse me. So this was the Heisman odds, at least for DraftKings. They got CJ Carr, Arch Manning 2, Dante Moore 3, Julian Sand 4, Darian Mensah 5, Josh Hoover from Indiana. Okay, so that's the quarterback we were looking at, which I think he came from TCU. Trinidad Chambliss at number, what is that, 7, which is kind of crazy. I think Trinidad Chambliss should be number 3, if not number 1. Jeremiah Smith, Gunnar Stockton, Sam Levitt, Marcel Reed, Jaden Maeva, Keelan Russell, John Mateer. And again, if I keep it a whole 100, I think Marcel Reed has a very high chance of getting the Heisman Trophy nod if he has a great season again this year. Jordan Mailata, somebody me and Chris have talked about a lot. So I think realistically, a realistic Heisman top 5 for me would probably be Trinidad Chambliss, Jeremiah Smith, Arch Manning, Jordan Mailata, and then Marcel Reed more than the actual group that they got. This boy crazy. He banging off the door like he in WCW. Yeah, that would definitely be my top, my actual top 5. Okay, let's see. This was the MVP odds. I just hate every list is like just packed with quarterbacks. Yeah, guess we'll talk. We'll talk about that another day. All right, I just sat up here for what it says is 62 minutes, so that's pretty crazy actually. From a walk around the block to sitting in my house. Hope y'all have a good one. I will be back tomorrow. See you later. Y'all have a blessed day. Y'all tell somebody that y'all love them. Be kind even when people are not kind to y'all, even when they get on y'all fucking nerves. You know, just do you. Have a good one. Love you.